Good morning, dear Stitchers. It's Judy Whitman with JBW Designs, and welcome back to my FlossTube channel. It is November 10th, Friday, and as usual, it's taken me a while to get everything together, but I'm glad to be back again. And I named this video, we're supposed to have a title for everyone, Won't You Be in My Neighborhood? And the idea for that, I love that phrase, of course, from Mr. Rogers, but that idea came from one of the comments that, let's see if I wrote down who, the Crafty Librarian sent to me, and I thought, oh, that's so true. We really are neighbors, even though we live far, far apart. We share this love for cross stitch. So the only thing that I have to tell you is that I don't want to use that as my kind of phrase, because someone else in our FlossTube community, Chris Cross Stitch, always talks about his neighborhood. And so Chris, you have that title. I just borrowed it for today. Thank you. So let's see where to begin. It's been a very couple of busy weeks. I want to tell you about some of the comments and questions that we had from the last video. I always have a theme for the day, of course, and I have lots of models to show to you. So first of all, I always like to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch, to write letters. It's just an amazing community, and I'm so happy to be part of it. So the first thing I want to tell you about is kind of what a life update. Last weekend was just wonderful because even though my children and grandchildren live fairly close by, they have very busy lives, so there are lots of times when I don't get to see them. But last weekend we had 3 events going on, which was so much fun. On Friday night, our grandson Wyatt and his wife Kylie came to dinner, and they're just the dearest couple, and we had a wonderful visit with them. On Saturday, Kylie had a baby shower, and that was just great. I haven't been to a baby shower in a long time. Excuse me, but she got just wonderful gifts, and it was so much fun to see her open everything. And then on Sunday, I got a text from our oldest granddaughter, Ashton, who's in college, and she was home for the weekend for the shower, and she said, do you want to meet for lunch? And of course, we never want to pass up a chance to be together. So Ashton came, and Cody, and Ellie, and Liam. So it was great. We had a fun lunch together. We were missing a couple of people, but at least I got, over the weekend to see most of the family. So that was great. So then the next thing I want to talk to you about is some of the mail that I've gotten. And first of all, I received just a lovely letter from Davy, and she's working on a project. She's trying to design a sampler using alphabets from all of her family members who are from different countries. So we'll be very anxious to see, Davy, what you come up with. I know that's going to be a big project, but I love the sound of it. And then I got a note from my new friend in Portugal, and I talked about this in the last video. I think the reach of a FlossTube is just incredible. And Inez, I want to pronounce her name correctly, so she'll have to tell me how to pronounce it in the next note that she writes. But it's spelled I-N-E-S, so I'm going to say Inez Maria. And she and I have been, I'm going to take a drink of water. I'm choking again. She and I have been corresponding ever since we came back from Portugal, and she is an avid cross stitcher, and she sent me a picture of some of the things that she's finished, and I was just so impressed with what she's done. She said it's very, very hard to get supplies in Portugal. There are no really cross stitch shops, just kind of general stores. So thank you so much for sending this. That was a real treat to get that. Then the next thing that I wanted to mention is I even had a note from a couple of girls in Russia who are watching. And of course they can't get the books, but I think it's wonderful, and I thank all of you who take the time to do that. So I have so many things to show you, and so I'll just kind of go around in a circle and start with the first thing that's right close at hand. So I'm trying to think of how this came about. I'm going to show this little ornament. So this is a free chart that I published probably a couple months ago, and it was on a site on Instagram, and it's called the Counted Threaded Stitcher. And if you go to their website, or sign up first of all to follow them, there will be a link on that website for this little ornament, and we called it a stitching community. It's just a little series of houses and churches, etc. And a lot of people are having trouble getting that link. I'll probably be deluged with requests, but that's okay. If you are unable, all right, let me back up. If I was more tech savvy, I would be able to publish that link for you in my notes below. But if you go to my Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page and look at some of the finishes that people have done in the comments, someone was smarter than I am, to put a link there. So you could try that, and then if all else fails, send me an email and I will send you the chart for the free little ornament. So that's my Christmas gift to you. And when the chart comes, it's going to just look like this. So you'll just choose your the color that you want, the fabric that you want, etc. I actually have seen it stitched in green, all kinds of colors. You could do it in pink. I actually have seen it in pink too. It was very cute. So what else do I want to show you? I always like to kind of show you some of the things that people have shared that they have finished on my Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page. And I can't remember, I hope I didn't show this before, but I thought this was so adorable. I'm going to try to put it up close here. And this was done, let's see, I wrote it on here. Trisha did this. And if you look at it closely, you'll see that she used rickrack behind the design and then mounted it on a mat board and then framed it. And this design that she did is from the rabbit alphabet pattern. So that doesn't go with my theme today, but I wanted to show you what some of the people have been sending. And then another gal, let's see, I've written it on the back. This is from Elizabeth. She sent me a picture of some of her ornament finishes. And what I liked about this, and I wanted to share it with you, is look at the hoops. And when I did my last video where I talked about how to finish ornaments, I never mentioned using a wooden hoop. It is such an easy finish. You can mount it in the hoop with your fabric. You could mount it on a piece of comic board, but I don't think you really have to do that. I probably would put a felt piece or a piece of fabric on the back of it, but I just thought that was sweet. And I'll show you the back of Elizabeth. You can see that she put just a little piece of felt on the back, and then she did the darling little pillows, which I didn't even mention at all last week. Whoops, let me grab the right picture, as a possible finish. So thank you, Elizabeth. And then the third picture came in from, let's see, Sabine, and she had finished and framed my Bluebirds of Happiness sampler. And I just thought the frame on that was just gorgeous. So as you probably know, although I always get new viewers, this is what the Bluebirds of Happiness pattern looks like. So those were some of the things that I wanted to share with you that came in through mail and through my friend's page. Now I want to address some questions that came up in the last video, and they're not hard, but I always think it's useful because people ask questions that I forget to cover when I do my finishing instructions. So the first question had to do with, where do you get your charms? And I'm going to just pull up a little ornament here that has a tiny little charm on it. of course, you can go on Etsy, but I have a really good source, and I will list it in my notes below. It is called Fancifuls. Fanciful, Fancifuls Charms. Just Google it. They have a wonderful website. It's very organized. You can choose the topic you want, whether it's Christmas or animals, etc. And they don't carry silver charms. They're all brass finish. But what I like about their website, and I use them a lot, is that you can select a charm. You can order one. I order in large quantities when I'm getting some of my patterns that use charms, but you can order just a few of them. And as I say, her shipping, etc., it's very, very easy to place an order on that website for charms. So that would be one suggestion for you. Another question had to do with, let's see, did I write down who this was from? This was from Bonnie. She wanted to know what size needle I used. All right, I'm going to show just a sample here. When I attached the front of the ornament to the backing, and Bonnie, I just use sewing thread. I start here at the bottom and I just use a sewing needle. So when I attach those two pieces, I'm going to go up here around the edge. I'll leave a little opening at the top to put my hanger in, and then I might leave a little opening at the bottom if I need to put my trims and hide the ends of the trims. So that was another real, I thought, smart question to ask. And then the third question, having to do with our finishing topic last week, had to do with sleds. And I talked about sleds, but maybe I didn't explain it thoroughly, so I'm going to just cover it briefly again. So this sled design is from a book, which I forgot to pull, called Little Red Sleds. And before I talked about laying your design down on your printer and making a copy of it, you could do that. Let's see, look, I've got some samples here. So this Noel is another design in that series. So you could make a copy of what you stitched so that you have a template so that you can cut out your design and mount it on the sled. So that would be my first suggestion. Make a template. You can also lay the sled down on a piece of paper, and this is not hard to just trace around that wooden shape. That's another suggestion. And then once you've made your template, and I make a template out of comic board, then I would before I would cut this out, I would put some felt or batting on here. Then I would mount the design that I have stitched over this board, and then I would just glue that to the top of the sled. So it's such an easy finish. And then if you notice around the edges there's cording, or you could put chenille or pom-pom trim or ribbon, anything that you think of. So I hope, let's see, who asked? Kathy asked about that. So Kathy, I hope that is a better explanation on how to choose, how to finish the sleds. And then the last question was an interesting one, and my answer is, I'm not sure it's going to be that interesting, but someone asked me what my workspace is like, where I stitch. Well, I actually have what I call 3 little nests in my house where I stitch. So I've told you before, and you've seen from other videos, I have many chairs in my office. People tease me about it. But so this chair right here is very comfortable for stitching. I have a couch, and I have another upholstered chair. And then what do I use for lighting? I have lamps in all 3 nest areas. The lamp that I use here is very, very old. It's just a floor stand lamp with a magnifier and a light on it. Sometimes I stitch in the family room, and then I often stitch in the bedroom where I have a comfortable chair. And in that room, I just purchased an light, and it too is a floor stand. I should have brought it up here to show it to you. It has a great light on it. It's probably about this long, the light across the top, and I don't even need magnification when I stitch in that chair. So that's just a little history of where do I stitch. Now, I just spotted something I forgot to tell you about on my life update. So the other day, incidentally, my little necklace on the inside says Pearls of Wisdom. And that's what I'm hoping to impart today, is some little pearls of wisdom. So anyhow, on Wednesday, I took a day off, which is always fun. And I met my friend Merritt Crawford. And I will write her floss tube and Instagram is in the notes below. And hers label is called So Just Because. And she is so sweet. So she lives in Toledo and I'm in Kalamazoo. So she said, let's meet in Tecumseh. Now, Tecumseh, Michigan is about 2 hours from here. It was actually, the part of the drive was quite beautiful because it was kind of through the countryside. And we met there and did some really fun things. So if you're in the area, I'm going to make some suggestions for you. First of all, there is a cross-stitch shop there called Timeless Stitches. And we spent quite a bit of time in there with Denise. And then there, right in that same building where Denise is a quilt store called the Craft Patch. If you are a quilter, I would race to get there. It has hundreds and hundreds of bolts of fabric, beautifully displayed. I was blown away by it. Sometimes that's kind of overwhelming, but I did pick up some wonderful fat quarters of fabrics that I thought I could use in the future for finishing. And then it's a cute little town. We went to the British Tea Room for lunch, and that was delightful. And there were a couple of antique stores. So it was a great day. Thank you, Merritt. But this is the most amazing thing. She gave me this beautiful hand-stitched needle case. And look at this, she used my favorite French General fabrics. So this is going right into my traveling needle box, and I'll show you the inside of it and how pretty that is. Stitchers are so generous. I just marvel at the time that's taken to make something for someone else. So I thank you, Merritt. That was just a fun day. So now, the next thing, I think I've answered, have I answered all the, yes, I've answered all the questions. So my next topic is going to be, I've told you before that I do a contest on my Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page. And I always pull out 3 designs and I just say, tell me what your favorite is. So this week I posted, I thought I'm going to choose blue for my theme. And I wrote a little story about, is this a blue Monday? You know, I hope not. I hope it's a happy day, a happy blue day. So I chose 3 Christmas designs that ironically on the covers are not stitched in blue. I'll show you the books to go with it. But so these were the choices for the last contest. And it's still running, so you can still vote. So this was one of the designs, and it is called A Scandinavian Christmas. And as you can see on the front, I stitched it in. Let's look to see what did I stitch this in. Where are my colors? I'm not seeing it. Oh, that would be sad. No, they're here. So the red I stitched in DMC 150. Oh, it's frightening, isn't it, to watch? And this was stitched on 32 count Belfast in the color. The red one was, I'm sorry, this one here in the color Winter Moon. This I stitched on an antique white, and I did not write down what color blue I used, but I added little buttons. So that was one of the things that you could vote on. And then the second one that I pulled out, which I've shown you before, is the O'er the Fields design. I just got this back from a trunk show, and this is stitched in blue. So that was one of the designs that was in the contest, and this is what the booklet looks like. And actually I grabbed the red one too, because isn't it interesting to see how different a design can look in 2 different colorways. I just think it's fascinating. So I always love it when I see alternate ideas come out. And then the third design in the contest was called Dashing Through the Snow. And of course on the cover, let's see if I can get this picked up here. On the cover it was stitched in red on a polka dot fabric. But I love the blue because I feel like it's very wintry and you could leave that up all winter. So that is Dashing Through the Snow, worked in blue. So you'll have to tell me what your favorite is or go to that website and vote. All right, so my topic for today, I always try to think of something that might be hopefully fun and interesting for you, is red. And I pulled out all kinds of red models of my designs. And first ones I'm going to show you, I pulled some of the ornaments out of my Ornament Collection booklets that were stitched in red that are just fun to stitch. They don't take that long. So let me just pull out some samples to show you. So this little mitten, of course, is done in red with a really cute little red plaid lining on the back, and that's from the Ornament Collection 1. I'll set these aside. Tried to do these in somewhat of order. I pulled out two little red ornaments from Christmas Ornament 2 booklet, and the ornaments that I pulled out are a tiny little heart that says joy inside, and that was trimmed in a little red chenille. We talked about trims last week. Chenille is very easy to use as a trim because you could glue it on. And then the second design that I pulled out from that booklet is a tiny little chalet, and it's finished with a ruched ribbon. This was professionally finished by my finisher, but one thing I want to show you is that when she does her ruching, you probably can't see it. I'll see if I can pull it out. She puts a pin and a bead between each loop, and it goes between the two layers of the ornament. And I always loved that finish. I always thought it was such a good idea. I pulled out two models actually in two different sizes for you to compare of an ornament that appears in the Christmas Ornament Collection 3 booklet. And this also was professionally finished. I think this is going to drive us crazy. Anyhow, it was stitched on a red linen. It was stitched over 2. It was stitched on a 28. And my finisher mounted it on wool and scalloped the edges. And I just think this finish is exquisite. So there's the back. There's a wool on the back and then a wool backing on the front. One thing I forgot to mention last week is if you are stitching, you've stitched your Christmas design on red linen, I would suggest that before you mount it on I'm just going to pull up this picture that I had here. Let's pretend that the design that we're mounting on the sled was worked on red linen. I would put a red piece of adhesive felt behind your red fabric rather than white. I think it would look a lot better. I know it does. And here is a smaller version of that same design, worked over 1 on a 28 count linen, mounted on just the wool again, and then just attached to a plastic candy cane. Isn't that a sweet finish? And that design appears in the Ornament 3 booklet. So the next one I want to show you are 3 ornaments in red that I pulled out of Christmas Ornament 4 booklet. This one is kind of a different finish. I always liked this. It's just finished as a little sweet bag. And all you'd have to do is, cut your linen in a long piece and then turn this down at the top and then just stitch the sides and tie it at the top. And that would be fast to stitch too, and it's just stuffed with a little fiber fill. And then another ornament in that booklet is the little church, and that's finished with the pom-pom trim that we talked about last week. Some of these have just come back from a trunk show, so I'm able to show them to you. And this is also in book number 4, and that too is finished with the pom-pom trim, which you can glue on or you could hand sew. So those are 3 more, and then I have 3 more from the most recent book. So the last book that I've done, which will probably be the last ornament collection, I think, is Christmas Ornament 5. And I pulled 3 different designs to share with you because I really like the finish. So this is a little reindeer, and it is stitched over 1 on a 28. You know from my previous videos, if you're not a fan of over 1, please stitch them over 2. They'll look just as sweet. But this was mounted in 2 pieces. So the reindeer was mounted on 1 board, but the backing is mounted on a 2nd board. And in this case, when you're making this kind of an ornament, you'll need to do 2 layers of the backing, because you need 1 for the back, and then you need 1 for the piece that falls underneath the design. But I just think that turned out so sweetly. And then she did a candy cane twisted cording on here with red and white. So let's set that aside. Here's another design on red that appears in that last booklet. It's just a little tiny church. It too was finished, actually I finished this one, with a pom-pom trim and a sweet little Christmas fabric on the back. Often, I think I told you this last week, but I'll mention it again, I often use a bow or a pin or a charm at the place where the ends of your trims come together. Here's another design from that booklet. It's just a simple little heart, again worked on red. And then the last ornament design I'll show today is just a sweet little reindeer with snowflakes. That's trimmed with a twisted cording and a bow at the bottom. So that was my first step of the red ornament ideas to show you. Now I'm going to grab some more designs, and these actually are, oh gosh, I'll look at the date of them when it was designed. This is really old. This is an antique. It's called Baby's First Christmas, and how appropriate, because I'm going to be having we are going to be having a new baby in our family, and I have to whip one up for this little baby because she's supposed to be born on Christmas Day. Oddly enough, this design is still selling well. I just reprinted it. There are 3 designs in the booklet. You could add the baby's name, the date, etc. below. So there's a little gingerbread boy. Here, I'll show you the models. There's a little stocking with a little bear inside. There is a gingerbread boy, and there is a rocking horse. And in the background, let's see, I used beads in the background of this one. I used a metallic, it's going to be hard to see, in the background of this one. And I used beads in the background of that one. And the booklet looks like this. So that might be of interest to some of you who are grandmothers. All right, let me pull some more in here. I have 2 here over here to show you, and again, this is one of my older ones, and I think I've shown it in years past, but it's one of my favorites. This is called Santa's Sleigh Ride. This is actually framed in a frame from Classic Colorworks, has a framing division. Classic Colorworks, of course, is the fiber company, and you could always write to them to find out. They have wonderful frames with really neat moldings on it, and this is what the booklet looks like for Santa's Sleigh Ride. Try to hold it up here. There we go. All right, let's set that over here. Another set that I want to show you. Oh, I have a lot, don't I? I'm trying not to make my videos too long, but oh, it's hard. I have so much to show you. So this is a design in my French country line, and it is called French Country Wreath, and it's always been one of my favorites. Can a designer have favorites? I guess so. I do love this. So this was stitched, this particular model was stitched over, excuse me, over 1. But of course over 2 it would be just as beautiful. And again, I love the finishing on this. If you think about it, here is the back board of this. So you cover that with fabric. And then when you cover the fabric onto the front of the board, you can see, if I show it to you up close, there we go, that it almost looks like it's been gathered, but it's actually possible to take that fabric and turn it around the edges and just kind of, can you picture this? Just pinching it with your fingers all the way around to get that gathered look on this ornament. And here is the booklet for French Country Wreath. And I could see putting a date on that. It would be just dear. I used all kinds of Christmas motifs on this one. All right, let's see, what else do we have? I'll grab what's closest. This is a new design. It just came out in September. And here's another red design. This is called a Stitcher's Stocking. This, I have 2 models to show to you. This one was stitched over 1 on a 28 count, but here is the model over 2. So you can see it still makes just a dear little ornament. It's not too big. This was stitched on a 36 count fabric. You could do it on 32 or 28, but it's fun to see it, isn't it, in the different colorways because they look so different when they're done. And again, this was just finished as a flat. This has a pom-pom trim on the edge, and this one has a twisted cording on the edge. All right, I have, let's see, keep moving down here. Here is a red design for you. This also is a recent release. It's called the Bristol Stocking. And here's what the design looks like over 2. And let me hold this one up, and here is the design over 1. Now, if you're not familiar with Bristol samplers, I'll give you a really brief history. They're quite famous in our stitching world, but maybe you haven't heard of them. So there was an orphanage in Bristol, England. Actually, it was quite a large orphanage run by a man named George Mueller. And the beautiful thing about this orphanage is he taught the children, the girls in the orphanage, how to stitch. And their samplers have a very distinctive look to them. They usually have many, many alphabets. They're all different sizes. And at the bottom, excuse me once again, at the bottom of the samplers, they usually have little tiny motifs. So that's what I did with this one. I have a little house and a reindeer and some birds and a little symbol here that's often found on their samplers. So this is what that design looks like. And then I pulled out 4 of the Sing-a-Song series that also use red as the theme. This is I Saw 3 Ships, finished with chenille. That's what that looks like. Here's another one called I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. And that too is finished with chenille. These are stitched on a 32 count Belfast antique white. All of these models are. Here's another design in that Sing-a-Song series called O Little Town of Bethlehem. And there are 15 different stockings in this series. And these were so much fun to put together, to design. There are Christmas hymns, and there are also just Christmas carols in this series. And again, it's just finished with a Christmas fabric on the back. And then the last design I'm going to show you in this Sing-a-Song series is Here Comes Santa Claus. This is one of the earliest ones. This actually was stitched on a 32 count Belfast latte linen. And that too is finished with just a little bit of chenille. It's just a great finish. So I have one more set of designs to show you. And I want to try to keep these in order because this is another case of a design that was released quite a while ago, and I still am reprinting it. I'm still getting orders for it. So that makes it kind of fun. So what am I talking about? I am talking about the series called Twas the Night Before Christmas. Excuse me. And this series has 4 books. Each book has 3 designs in it. So I'm going to show you the 3 designs that appear in each booklet. But what I want to tell you about is this. So this is a design that after I was all done, I had this idea that it would be darling stitched as one piece. And I did that. And if you are interested in stitching it as a single design, you can write to me and ask for the PDF file. It's free. And what you will get in the PDF file is not only a picture of what the design looks like with all 12 stitched on one piece of fabric, but also you will get the layout and a border that I designed that goes around the edge of the 12 pieces. So sometimes people aren't aware that they can, somebody actually wrote to me the other day and they were trying to find the border and they couldn't, so I thought, oh, this would be a good thing to mention today, that there is an overall design for Twas the Night Before Christmas. So I'm going to quickly show you how this design works. So the first little square says Twas the Night, and they're just phrases that were taken out of the poem. The second one is the stockings were hung. And the third one is the children were nestled. This was so much fun to put together. I did get a funny note from someone one day who said, you're missing a lot of the lines. Yeah, that's true, I am. But there was no way I was going to do every line of that darling poem. So here are the next 3. Here's Away to the Window. And then the next line what I used was a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. And then the next one in that line is It Must Be St. Nick. All right, then in the third line, if you were to do it all together, is with a sleigh full of toys. In a twinkling I heard on the roof. And the next one is Down the Chimney St. Nicholas Came. This always gives me a chuckle. And let's see, here are the last 3, last 4. Yeah, I worked these on a 28 count linen also. So the next one is His Eyes How They Twinkled. Let's see here if I can get that up for you. He filled all the stockings. And the last one is Happy Christmas to All. And these were professionally finished with a ruched ribbon edging. You can kind of see between the little loops, she's used just a bead with a pin with a bead on it. So it was kind of fun to pull that out and let you know about it. And as I say, even though the design is older, it was published in 2010, I'm still getting orders from shops for this design. So I'm still printing it because that seems like a good thing to do. All right, let's finish up here. I always have a few little things at the end. One is I like to do a shop of the day. I like to support my needlework shops. And the shops that I choose to feature in my videos are always shops that are on my automatic, which means they get all of my new designs. And I think if you wanted something, they'd be happy to order it for you. So the shop today is called the Crafty Ewe. It's in Broadview Heights, Ohio. It's owned by Janine, and I'll put this information in the notes below. And their email is craftyewstitch@gmail.com. I have never been to Janine's shop, but I've seen many, many pictures of it, and it looks fabulous. So, give her a call if you're looking for patterns, fabrics, fibers, etc. There are a lot of you who don't have a shop nearby, and I really want to support our independently owned needlework shops. We need to keep them going. All right. Oh, where did I put it? I had it in a box and I forgot to pull it out for you. All right, I will describe it. I have a round Christmas plaque that I used for my design that is Christmas in the Round. And it's just white, and I mounted, it's about, I'd say about 8 inches around. I'll have to get the model for you next time. I mounted the design in the center of that plaque. Well, when I was organizing my closet last week, I came across an extra white plaque. So if you're listening to this and you want that, the first person to say, Judy, please send me that, is going to win it this week. So I hope you can picture what I'm talking about. Also, I have 2 other winners who can just email me, I'll give you that in a minute, and tell me which design I showed today you'd like to have, and I will send that to you as a gift. So our winners today are, ironically, our Crafty Librarian, who I mentioned at the beginning, and Susan Hernandez. So what's happening next? How to contact me. Judy at JBWdesigns.com is my email, and that's the best way to reach me. I'm on Instagram, judy.whitman, and I have a website, jbwdesigns.com, and I have some of my older patterns on that website for sale. In the next few weeks, it's going to be very busy. On Sunday, I'm going to have to take one more drink. I'm really hoarse today, aren't I? I'm sorry about that. I don't know why. I must talk too fast or something. Anyhow, on Sunday, I'm going to be teaching a Zoom class for a guild in Northville, which is kind of fun. It's on the other side of the state in Michigan. And I'm going to be teaching a finishing class, which is what I just did for you a week ago. So I'm hoping that goes well. It's a pretty big guild, and I have everything prepped for that class. 2 weeks from yesterday, actually, is Thanksgiving, which I can't believe. It just seems like it's coming so fast. So I usually film every 2 weeks. I probably won't film until probably 3 weeks out, because that's going to be a busy weekend. We are also adopting, we always do this every year, we adopt a family from Family and Children's Services, and my daughter and one of my grandchildren and I always go out to shop for that family. So that's coming up also. So there's lots of things to look forward to. So here is my quote or wish for you for Thanksgiving. Give thanks, not just on Thanksgiving Day, but every day of your life. Appreciate and never take for granted all that you have. And I am so grateful for all of you in my life. It's just been such a gift. So thanks for watching. I hope I turned this off correctly. Last time I was a little slow. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family and your friends. Bye-bye.